Hello, good afternoon, everyone.
Good afternoon, sir.
Good afternoon.
All right, I'm sure you
Afternoon.
are all aware of what is supposed to be discussed this afternoon. This is supposed to be an hour and a half. That's 90 minutes. Okay. Oh, sorry, I think I had an internet challenge there. Okay, so I was saying that it's supposed to be 90 minutes in which we are going to have a general introduction to literature. After, can you please mute your microphone until I ask you to unmute? Ensure that all microphones are muted until I ask you to unmute them. Right, thank you. All right, so I was saying this is supposed to be a 90-minute discussion. I wouldn't want to call it a lecture because I would like us to talk. I would like us to exchange information. So I'm supposed to give you some briefs, after which we get into a discussion. We share information, one with the other. Yeah, I do not know how many of you are supposed to be in this class. Who is the class rep? And is the same class rep present? Class rep, if you're present, please unmute your microphone and tell us how many you are in this class, because I can only see 14 people in attendance right now. Should I assume that the class rep is not present, or you don't have one? Chanda Ino.
We are about 28 students in class.
So meaning we have 50% not present right now.
Yes.
Too bad. Anyway, we'll still go ahead. So maybe just a quick one. I would like you to know that this is one of the best courses you can take here at UNZA. It's one of the very best. Why do I say so? Because literature is the only course you come across that speaks to you. It's about you. So that's what makes it best. I shouldn't expect any one of you to fail this course. If you fail, basically it means that you are not interested really in the course, or you're not working hard enough, or maybe there's something that you just haven't done, but you're not supposed to fail this course because of how it is. It is about you. So you're basically talking about yourself. As much as you interact with literary texts, you talk about literary texts, but you find that much of what you talk about is yourself. It's your life. It's the experience that you have. Because as we interact with literary texts, at every point, you will realize that actually these literary texts are talking about our lives, our daily lives. So they're talking about us, and therefore we are talking about ourselves. That is what is good about this course that we are doing. So I'd like to welcome you and tell you that in case you do not know, I want you to know now that you are one of the very, very few people in this country who are doing this course right now, who I can assure you are really going to enjoy their lives by interacting with a field that speaks to them as individuals. So this is a great opportunity, and please take care of it. Do not waste it. Ensure that you get the best that you can out of it, and above all, ensure that you are fully involved. Remember, in literature, we rarely get people to fail, but above all, we are not interested in you passing. That is not the objective of this, of these courses. Yes, some people talk about you passing, but we're not interested in you passing. We're interested in you, having this life-changing experience. So when you interact with literature, you get to have a different lifestyle. You get to be different because you view life differently. You do not accept everything the way it was given to you. At this point, you are able to say, no, this I don't think is the case, because you're able to interrogate whatever it is that comes to you. So you do not accept anything just as it is presented to you. No, you'll be able to say, no, I don't agree with this. I think this is the way it should be. So you get to be involved fully. So that is what you need to do. And I'm very happy to be part of this course. My name is Gankhanani Moyo. I am supposed to be with you for 3 sessions. In this session, we are going to have a general overview of literature. We're just going to look at literature in general. After that, we're going to have another session where we talk about oral literature. Okay, so that is also a general overview. From there, we get into written literature. In written literature, we are going to focus on poetry. So with me, we're going to discuss poetry. So that's basically what we are going to do, you and I. The next should be 270 minutes. So that's the time that we're going to spend together. Great, before we get into our discussions, allow me to ask you to tell me anything that you feel we can talk about. Do you have any questions? Is there anything that you have interacted with that maybe hasn't been very clear to you and you'd like it to be discussed? So now this time is for you to share your views. Anything? If you want to say something, please just unmute your microphone and say what you have to say.
I have a question.
Yes, please, go ahead.
All right. I remember some few years back, there was an outcry of depending on foreign books, as in novels. In Zambia, using novels that are done by authors who are not Zambian, or maybe who are not even African. So like after our madam, I think gave us 2 or 3, and out of those, I didn't see any Zambian novel. Does this mean that we are not up to standard, that we cannot recommend those to use at the university level?
Okay, good question. The question basically is, do we have literature or we don't as a country? Are we unable to produce literature that we should use in class? I think there should be some Zambian texts in that collection. I think I saw something. Okay, I think the major problem that you people have is that you need electronic copies. And it's difficult to come across electronic copies for Zambian books. We do not allow you to photocopy Zambian books. Okay, we do not allow you to, how can I put it? You're not allowed to turn Zambian books into electronic books. Okay. Please ensure that all your microphones are muted. I can get a very bad feedback. So we're saying that it's difficult, okay, for your, for us to allow you to get Zambian books without paying for them. What do I mean? If we gave you, for instance, The Innocence of a Dog, a collection of short stories by John Wangala, an author who we know, we'll expect you to pay for it. But then if only one person is going to pay for it, then everyone makes a copy of the book, then we know that we'll be stealing money from the author. So we're not saying that it's okay for you to steal money from non-Zambian authors, but I think we're saying these books that are readily available in bookshops should not be photocopied. We should not infringe on the copyright of those people. So that's the main question, the main problem. But we have a lot of writers in Zambia. We have a lot of books that are being sold. Actually, about 3-4 hours ago, I was meeting a young poet who has published a book, which I'm helping her sell. So we have them. We have the books. And I think you will encounter a lot of Zambian literature. And besides, even if you've got that collection of texts that you're going to discuss, please do not restrict yourself to that. What I always say is that read anything you come across, anything and everything. Just read, just interact with it. That's why here we're just supposed to, find ways of interacting with these literary texts so that you're able to develop your own way of interacting with them. So you should be able, to have this special relationship with these, with these works. So in short, find a way in which you speak to these works, and these works also speak to you. So to have that special interaction. So that's what you have to do. Have that special relationship. Can we please mute our microphones? Do you have a question? Who is that one? Problem. Okay. Hold on, Jonathan. Yes, Jonathan, just hold on. Are you the one who is trying to speak? That background noise is coming from Jonathan.
No, it's not me. I just raised my hand.
Okay, yes, Jonathan, go ahead.
Oh, okay. The reason I asked that question is I think it's quite interesting and easy to comprehend something which is closer to home than maybe me dealing with a book done by Shakespeare with English that was done maybe in Kaunda's time or before Kaunda's time, I should say. So maybe if you look at books like Innocence of a Dog, Cause of Desire, they're the books that, okay, they're straightforward. They are speaking to us, to the situations that are happening in Zambia here. Okay. And some books that we use are, like I said, they are books that were done in some years, decades ago. So sometimes you see that what is happening now is not what used to happen in the past. And we find it difficult to maybe get what we're supposed to get from that book. Okay. There are very few books of, I should say, maybe for Chinua Achebe that maybe relate to what happens here, or maybe we're easily understanding them. But there are some, the way maybe some materials done by Ngugi wa Thiong'o. Sometimes you have to read that book maybe 10 times for you to comprehend, or maybe get just maybe one episode of what's happening. So maybe I was thinking if we just stick to maybe something which is closer to home, that will help us understand what literature is about.
Okay. No, that's very valid. That's very valid. However, we expect you through the study of literature to interact with other worlds as well, what we call vicarious experience. We expect you to, to go to England without flying there, just by reading English texts. So we will not restrict you to what you already know. We will also try to help you venture into, different realms of reality, realms of our experiences, of our beings, through interacting with these literary texts. So that's why we cannot say you are going to read Zambian works alone. No, we'll try to open the world up to you so that you can have as much as possible. And as I said earlier, do not restrict yourself to texts that have been prescribed on the course. Read whatever you can come across. But that point is really valid. And I think we have tried time and again to see how we could help you. But then we also have those challenges where since you're not, since you're not around, it becomes difficult for you to find these texts. So those are some of the challenges that we have to deal with time and again. All right, now maybe, okay, yes, Joe Mlenga. Joe Mulenga, you raised your hand.
Can you get me now?
Yes, Joe, I can hear you.
So my question is, how can you help someone like me who is not really a book person? And I find myself in a situation where I have to read.
Okay, so you are not into books. You don't.
Sure. Not really into books.
Yes, Joe.
No? Sure.
So you're saying you're not into books.
Not really into books. I've read a
Okay.
few, but
Yeah. So, well, I think what I'd like you to remember is that you have to read on this course. On this course, whether you like it or not, you have to read. That's the first point, okay? Then the second and more important point is that it is beautiful to read. All right? You might not have, paid a lot of attention to it, but this time I would like you to know that it is beautiful. Just pay extra attention, and we'll give you ways, various ways in which you can read. Okay, how do you interact with the text? So we'll still have, all those ways of how we interact with the text, the various points that we can use to interact with the text, and those are going to help you actually see how interesting it is to read. We cannot get out of reading. It's mandatory. It's a must. If you're on this course, you have to read. So there's no way out on that one. But I think what's important is for you to know that it's important to read not just for students of literature, but for everyone. It works very well for us. It's beautiful. It's really beautiful, I'm telling you. That's the reason you can read one text 3-4 times. And even after reading it 4 times, you still get back to it and want to read it again because it's beautiful. It's good. I can't think of anything better than that. So just listen to the work, listen to the book, and you want to read it over and over again. That is the way it works. So all I can say is, even if you don't have interest in reading, this time read because you know that there's something you're going to get out of it. If not the enjoyment of the text, it's the grade at the end of the day because you're getting a grade. So as much as I'm not very keen on those grades, I would say still do it, even just for that grade. Okay, I hope that is clear. All right, now let's move into the lecture. This time I just want to give you a few pointers. All right. The first thing is that I would like us to understand. Remember, we don't have a lot of time. So whatever I'm going to share with you will be general overviews. Enoch, are you trying to ask a question? Chanda, Enoch.
Oh, I'm just trying maybe to remind you to record the.
Okay,
I'm trying to remind you to record the discussion.
Oh, great. But how do you remind me at this time when it's late? Because all that which we're doing was part of the lecture. So don't worry, I think we are.
No, you are recording.
I think yes, we
You
are
are
recording.
recording. We're good.
I'm
Yes.
recording, but I'm surprised that Mr. Chanda is reminding us so late. Are you Bemba, Mr. Chanda? Mr. Chanda, are you a Bemba man? If you are
No,
Bemba,
I'm not Bemba.
You should be. No one who can do that.
Okay, all right. So now maybe the question we have to deal with at this point is what really is literature? Okay, what is literature? We have been talking about literature, and from the discussion we have had, I think we can clearly tell that we have an idea of what literature is. We know what literature is, and I know most people will say literature is about novels. They'll say it's about poems, it's about plays, but well, it's way beyond that. You know, I would like you at every time you think about literature to know that here we're talking about an art. It's an art form, but this art form has taken the angle of language. So it is a language-based art form. These are arts that are crafted through language, through the use of language. Okay, those that are keen on written literature usually say it's about letters, but I do not want us to talk about something written or not written. Here we're just talking about literature in general. So generally, as we interact with literature, we have to know that we're interacting with something that is language-based, created through language, created, crafted, developed through language. Language is at the center of it. And you know, by language, we're referring to the way we're communicating right now. I think right now we are using a language for us to be able to understand each other, for us to be able to, to share information one with the other. We have to use a language. And that is what literature is interested in. Literature is about using language to share your ideas. But this use of language is artistic in nature. So if it is artistic, what really do we mean? What we mean is that it is a product of beauty. Art is something that is beautiful. If it is beautiful, what it means is that it is meant to be enjoyed. Well, of course, I think you will agree with me that almost everything in life is, is meant to be enjoyed. Life itself is meant to be enjoyed. My argument has been that if you're going to talk about development in people's lives, you're talking about people enjoying. You're talking about people doing something that they feel good about, okay? So enjoying something is what is paramount, and the arts are key to that. The arts are number one when it comes to human beings' enjoyment. The arts are number one. The arts will give you that enjoyment that you want. And those arts are the body that literature falls under. So what it means that literature is meant to be enjoyed. Now, apart from being enjoyed, literature is also meant to shape our being, in short, to teach us. Okay, so it is meant to shape our behavior. It is meant to shape our reaction to the world. It is meant to shape our interaction with the world. How we interact with the world should not be the same all the time. And that is where literature comes in. So literature is there not just to make us enjoy it or to make us enjoy our lives, but it is also meant to change our behavior. So it is meant to teach us. It is meant to share new information with us so that we have a different view, or we can say a richer, a broader, a wider view of our realities. Okay? Now let me remind you, when this lecture ends, let's say we are cut off, because we will be cut off since we're using the free version, we should just get back to the same link and re-log in. Then we continue the lecture. So if it just cuts wherever it's going to cut, then let's log in. And when we get back to the next, using the next link, when we meet again, please remind me. Sometimes I forget what I'm talking about. So if I forget, please just remind me. So I'm saying literature is about enjoyment because it is beautiful. Okay? And I was saying, whatever we do it for enjoyment. Our lives are meant to be enjoyed. We are supposed to enjoy our lives. We're supposed to feel good about everything that we do. And maybe some of you will say, no, but there are things that I do that I know I don't enjoy. For instance, being in school, I don't think being in school is something that is so enjoyable. Okay. Well, I personally, do not enjoy such things as, going to work, for instance, so much. I hate going to work, okay? What I want is just to be with my family, just enjoying ourselves, playing music, eating, drinking, laughing, and all that. But then why do we do things that we don't enjoy? Why do we go to school, for instance? Okay, some of you in this class being distance students could probably already have, advanced diplomas, but here you are coming back to school to get a degree. Why? And you're telling me that you won't enjoy it, but you know that by getting this degree, you are going to enjoy. So the degree is going to give you enjoyment, maybe by a higher salary, or you're going to interact with texts that are different from the text that you interacted with, the first time you did literature. All that is enjoyment. So the ultimate end is enjoyment. That is the ultimate goal of everything that we do, enjoyment. And that is what literature does. Literature makes you happy. It makes you feel good. Then we have said that it also gives you new experiences. It teaches you something that you haven't interacted with before. So it is a learning point. It is something that we learn from. That is what literature does. But above all, apart from the fact that it is meant for entertainment and it is meant to educate us, literature also gives us, a reduplication form of reality of the world. So we are able to see this world reproduced. So it gives a mirror of our society. You want to see yourself, because every time you're seated, you can't really see yourself, you can't see your face, you can't see a lot. If you want to do that, then you have to use a mirror. You look in the mirror, you can see yourself. And literature plays that particular function. And that's why, if you remember very well, at the beginning of this lecture, James Jonathan was complaining to say, why should we be reading texts that are not African? I mean, that are not Zambian. We want to read our own text. In short, he's trying to say, let's talk about ourselves. We want to know about ourselves, want to see ourselves, want to see that which we probably do not see about ourselves. Because that is what literature is supposed to do. It's supposed to make us see who we are. It's supposed to speak to us and not to others. So if it can't speak to us, then what's its purpose? It's not going to play, to play any special function in our lives. So it's not just for enjoyment, but it is also for us to know ourselves better. It is for us to see ourselves better. Okay? It is always the other that makes you see who you are. It's been argued by many that without you, I cannot be. I hope you understand the point. So our being is highly, developed by the being of the other. So it is through the other that I can, be who I am, because you are different from me. In the absence of this difference, it becomes difficult for my being to be valid, to be recognized, to be accepted. So I need the other for me to be. That's why we need literature, for us to see ourselves. We cannot see ourselves through ourselves. We can only see ourselves through the other. And the other in this particular case is literature. So we have this fresh knowledge, fresh information coming to us through literature. So that's why literature is very important in our lives. So we have pointed out three general functions of literature. Okay, very general. The first being that through literature we are able, to to enjoy our lives, to enjoy ourselves. Then, apart from enjoying ourselves through literature, we are able, to learn something, okay, that changes our behavior. And then we have also noticed that through literature we are able, to see the world from a different perspective, because this world we know does not always appear the way it is. So literature shows us the other side of the world. That's basically what we have. And at this point, I think I'll allow you to ask questions before we get into the forms of literature. Questions, please raise your hand when you have that question, then we'll ask you to ask your question. Any questions or general comments before we proceed into the forms of literature? I can't see anyone raising their hand. Okay.
I think it's clear.
It's clear. Great. So next we're going to move into forms of literature. What forms are taken by literature? We have had a general overview of what literature is. We have just been taught that it is an art form that is language based. Okay, it is language based and it is produced by, by people to be consumed by people. It is produced linguistically, that is through language, and it is consumed by the people who produce it. So we have people, special people in society who produce this literature. Then it is consumed by the rest of us. And we consume it because we enjoy it and because it, it shows us more about ourselves. In short, it reproduces society, and also because we learn something new. Okay, we get fresh knowledge about the world. For instance, we talked about the vicarious experience that we get out of literature. So because it plays these functions, we think that literature is important. But then now let's move a little further to the forms that are, that are taken by literature. I would say in general, literature takes two forms. Okay, that's the written, and the oral. So the first form is written. The second form is oral. Now, the discussion we had earlier seemed to suggest that literature is primarily written. Unfortunately, that is not the case. Every time you interact with literature, you will realize that it is actually primarily oral. Remember when you were born, you were not even able to speak. You were only, you were only able to cry. From there, then you developed into someone who can speak. So you were able to speak. You were able to communicate with others before you even knew how to, how to read. And then you learned how to read. And later you were able to write. So the written word is quite secondary in our lives, while the oral is primary. So we start with the spoken. We are born, we produce sounds, and these sounds are, usually, incoherent. They're just jumbled, they're all that. Then with time, we are able to put them together to create or to use language. That is the experience that we are coming from. Okay, before we get to the written word. So literature, we have said, has those two forms. And now I'd like us to look at the written and the oral differently, okay? But maybe before that, no, okay, yeah, let's get into that. I think I will discuss it under literature. I wanted to look at the various ways of interpreting literature or reading literature. Okay, so oral and written literature, what's the difference between the two? We know generally that oral literature, as we have already said, is transmitted, by word of mouth through language orally. Okay, it is spoken, so it is a spoken form. So oral literature is a spoken form, while written literature, as the name suggests, is the written form, something that is written. It is put in words. It doesn't necessarily need to be on paper, as it has been argued by many who, loosely say it is in written form, but it's not really in written form. It is, it is not really on paper, but it is just